Hello my lovely friends, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing a flip through of my latest junk journals that I'm going to be putting on my website and in my Etsy store. I always get those wrong. Yeah, last week, oh, can we talk about last week? Last week was really stressful, and that's why I didn't have a video for you guys last week. But I did manage to make 2 of these number themed journals. I'm not even really sure exactly what to call these, to be honest, because sort of in the introduction, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the why and the how and the whole thing. But I indulged my absolute love of numbers, and I created these 2, all I can think of is number-themed journals. But then I'm like, nobody's going to be searching on Google for number-themed journals. Right? Sometimes the hardest part, when you have a website and you're making stuff, is figuring out what to call this thing, like to give it a title, right? So people can search for it and hopefully find it and all that kind of thing. So after I was done, I was like, I don't know, what do you call them? Because you don't want to, there's not another really easy way to say numbers. A journal full of numbers. And maybe I'm the only one who would think that a journal full of numbers and number ephemera was fun, but I'm hoping not. Anyways, this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you. And I quickly will also show you these digitals. I did a video last year where I made these collage number tags, and I used some of them in the journals for the first time, so I was pretty excited about that. But yeah, so if you're interested, stick around for a few minutes, because I'm going to talk a little bit about why I made these 2 journals and what was going on. And it will sort of come full circle, so you just have to be a tiny bit patient with me, in the sense that, you know, something I want to talk about more on this channel, and I've been thinking a lot about this, is what is a junk journal? Why do we journal? Why do we junk journal? And, you know, the answer to those questions are as individualistic as we are. But this really struck home for me last week because, I mean, anything that could go wrong last week did. And I was just like, I mean, I like to think, I like to think that I'm pretty good at handling a fair amount of stress. And so when things come up that are unexpected, in my mind, I'm pretty good at handling these things. But just between you and me, this isn't always the case. And I'm not going to go, you know, really deep into why this is, but I do tend to, I go from 0 to 10 pretty quickly when I don't know either how to fix something right away, or I don't, you know, I'm not great at grounding. I'm not great at sort of getting myself centered. I tend to sort of be, you know, a little chaotic and maybe a bit like the Tasmanian devil. But I'm aware of this, and so when it happens, I try really hard to sort of bring myself back down and just be like, okay, think about the things you can control, think about the things you can't control, you know, and sort of have this inner dialogue with myself where I'm just like, okay, you've done hard things before, you can do hard things again. You're going to be okay, it's okay. So there was some stuff going on with my dad, and, you know, he's in his early 80s, so he's doing okay, but sometimes, you know, just sometimes he doesn't see things in a logical way. Let's just put it like that. Then Miss Sophie over here, she showed up with this big abscess thing by her shoulder, and it was big and puffy and sore, and then I was freaking out because I was like, oh my God, what happened? And I'm trying to get in touch with a vet. And then I had a doctor's appointment coming up because I was having some trouble with my foot. And when I got there, they're like, okay, well, we're going to take your blood pressure and weigh you. And I was like, huh. And so it was just, it was a lot all at once. And it wasn't the end of the world, but it was just a lot in the sense that, things sort of come at you and you don't expect them, and you've got all these balls in the air and you're trying to figure out, you're just trying to problem solve. So in my quest to try and be a calm and rational human being, I decided that one of the best things I could do for myself was obviously do something that I enjoy, do something that would bring me a sense of peace and calm through a very repetitive and familiar action. And so it wasn't on my list last week to create these 2 journals. But I decided that what I needed more than anything was a sense of familiarity and, like I said, something repetitive that I knew that I was good at, right? So working through the stress and the things that were kind of, because I don't want to say that I just wasn't going to be able to solve these problems overnight. It's not like, oh, my bank account is overdrawn, well, I'll just go put in some extra cash and then that problem's solved, or that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I had to get Sophie to the vets. We had to figure out what was going on. We had to figure out if she was going to need antibiotics. We had to figure out the stuff with my dad. Then my doctor's appointment, not that the high blood pressure was a huge shock to me, but again, it's going to require a long-term solution that I just can't fix overnight. So I thought, in order to bring some sort of sense of, as much as I don't like structure and as much as I'm not keen on schedule, like a tight schedule, there's something about even those of us that really rebel against conformity. There's a lot of comfort there, and there's just, when you're dealing with something that's very familiar and you take all the guesswork out of it, you can't help but exhale, and you can't help but be like, right? You almost automatically feel better once you're in a zone where you know what to expect, you know that there isn't going to be any big surprises, like the boogeyman's not coming out of the bush at you, right? And this is what had happened. And again, I know that there's people out there with a lot bigger problems, a lot bigger worries, and I counted my blessings that these things that I was dealing with weren't bigger or more serious, but it was still a lot of things coming at me at once where I couldn't just make it better. So one of the things about journaling that I think is so brilliant is that you can almost automatically put yourself in a place where you not only feel better and calm, but it gives you a sense of purpose and it gives you a sense of direction. And I realized that that's really what I needed in order to try and bring myself to a place where I was grounded, where I really felt like my feet were planted solid on the ground. And I really, really struggle with this for whatever reason. I like to think that I'm grounded, but I'm not really grounded. Anyways, that's a conversation for another day. I'll leave it there. So something that I'm working on. And I have noticed over the past little while that when I am journaling, even if in the background there's still this, this noise and this information that's sort of running in my brain that, this has to be done, that has to be done. You have to figure out this, you have to figure out that. This isn't going to turn out the way you wanted it to, and all of those sorts of things. And I'm always having to tell myself that your body feels everything that your mind thinks. And that I'm not doing myself any favors by letting my brain just kind of run amok. Like I have to, right? And so I thought, okay, let's make, first of all, I was like, well, let's get in the journal. And then I was like, no, I want to create something new. I want to create, let's just say it like that. I want to create, period. I wanted to work in my journal. I wanted to work in my dark journal where I write about all the feelings. And I knew that that would help. But then I still had to deal with the rest of the day or the rest of the week. Once I could do all the writing in my dark journal where I write about all the dark, scary feelings, I needed something to come after that. And so I recognized the fact that one of the best things I could do for myself was put myself in a situation where I could allow myself to get into a zone where things were comfortable. I could let my creativity flow. And that alone was going to help get me grounded. And that alone was going to put me in a place where I truly, honestly felt like I could exhale and really mean it and breathe, deep breathe from my belly and not shallow breathe from my chest with anxiety and doom and gloom. You know what I mean? And so I went through the process of getting the papers ready for the journal, and I just said to myself, flow. Because I struggle with this as well, because I may or may not have a few control issues. And so when you're butting up against things that you can't control, it just makes it even worse, right? I know I'm not alone in feeling this way. So I said to myself, do something where you are in control, where you feel like you can flow. I've talked about this a lot on the channel, and it will free up some space in your mind, in the sense that I will be focused on doing something that is productive, that is calming, that brings me joy, a sense of purpose, all of those things. And I have to say, it worked like a charm. And I decided not to overdo it and make like 5 numbered journals. I just decided to make 2. And I tried to really pay more attention to how I was feeling, both physically, emotionally, mentally, as I went through the process. Because I didn't need to make journals to add something to my website last week. I needed to make the journals to give myself a distraction, to give myself a purpose, and to bring myself joy in a way that would allow me to feel calm, and that the thoughts that were going on in my head that my body was going to feel would be thoughts that were positive, thoughts that would bring me comfort, and thoughts that would be able to send a signal to the rest of my body that my shoulders can come down, I don't have to clench. I'm a stomach clencher. I'm not so much a jaw clencher as I am a stomach clencher. And so I really wanted to find a place where I could deal with the stress that I needed to deal with, but also allow myself the time and space to unwind. And really, that's any of these things that we do for fun, like any of the hobbies that we do, that's what this is supposed to be all about. The end result, which is something I'm really proud of and I'm really happy with, and I think they look great, and I'm super excited to share them on my website and eventually send them to somebody who will give them a good home. That was sort of the bonus of the process. The process for me was about, I was going to say indulging, but indulging sounds like a word that we use when it's something that you have to somehow justify or earn. It wasn't about indulging in the process. It was about allowing myself to go into a process that would feel good. Good in the sense that it would feel healing. Whenever I feel productive, I feel better about myself. I feel like my brain goes into a really good place. And I thought I could freak out. I could, for me, you know, you can get this too when if cleaning, sometimes I know some people talk about they can almost go into a meditative state when they're cleaning. You know, some people do it through exercise, some people, everybody's different. But what I needed was a way to bring myself from 10 even back down to 5. I knew I wasn't going to get back down to 0, but I needed a way to exhale and then exhale a little bit more and exhale a little bit more. And that's exactly what these journals and the whole process did for me. And so we got through the week. Sophie didn't have to go back to the vet, which was great. We were able to clean out the wound and get everything managed and taken care of. I didn't have to give her pills. She didn't need the antibiotics in the end. So that was a huge one, because anybody that's tried to give a cat pills knows exactly how stressful that could be. The stuff with my dad got all sorted out. And I found out that I have a little bit of arthritis in my foot, which is exactly what I expected. And so that's fine. And, you know, I'm going to work on bringing my blood pressure levels down with some other things that I'm going to do. So anyways, that's my way of sharing. And just, this is something I really want to talk about on this channel a little bit more, is, you know, the health benefits that journaling can bring us. And I use journaling because that's why we're here, right? If I was somebody who knitting was how I was able to bring down, you know, my stress level and anxiety levels, then I would be knitting. But because you and I obviously love to journal and we enjoy journaling, and it's part, maybe not all of what we can use to help bring us some relief. I mean, that was the big thing. That's the word, relief. I needed some relief, and not through, you know, other means like red wine, chocolate, Doritos, and ice cream, right? Yeah, anyways, or I was thinking Frito-Lays, barbecue Frito-Lays. I needed some relief. And this is really what journaling and these hobbies and the things that we do, they aren't just about the creating. It is putting ourselves in a zone, in a place where we can help to ground ourselves. And there's always that thing too, where when we're doing something that we really enjoy, that brings us peace, because we can get into the flow, we can run some of the things in the back of our mind and problem solve while we're in the process of enjoying the making of something, the creating of something. But that process can happen sort of in the background, which in turn means that that our bodies and our minds are able to not be in a state of high alert, right? Depending on what you're going through. And the process of creating, and the process of being creative, and the process of allowing yourself to just do something for the pure sake of the joy of it, you know, helps to bring us out of fight or flight. It helps to bring us into a zone where we're forgetting consciously about the things that we're stressed out about, because we're focusing on the paper, we're focusing on the writing, we're focusing on stickers and die cuts and gluing and pasting and putting it all together. And who cares if it doesn't look great? It's the process. So, yeah, that's I'm not saying anything new. I'm not inventing, you know, many people and books and things, articles have been written about this, but it's something that I've been thinking a lot about bringing up, because I think it's a really good reminder that the things that we do for joy aren't just about getting to the finished product and being able to say, here, I made this, look at this. It's also about all of the benefits that we have and that we can enjoy while we're going through the process. And I think that one of the things that has really been sort of showing up in different spots and social media and things like that is that there's this sense of we need to constantly be accumulating things in order to feel good about in particular for us, journaling and junk journaling. And that's something else at some point I would like to talk about. Because there is this whole thing, like, there's all these new products, oh my God, Tim Holtz is always coming out with something new. And it is fun to acquire those things. And as I've said before, clearly, I like to acquire things. But there's nothing wrong with acquiring those things. But I think it's also just a really nice reminder to have somebody come along and say, you know, we've acquired all these great things. Now, let's let those things help to bring us calm, bring us peace. Let those things help heal us. And, you know, we can forget about our worries and our troubles for a little while and just, you know, it's like you're a kid, you know, when you're finger painting when you were a little kid, or you're making something when you were little, and you're razor focused in on the finger painting, and it didn't matter about anything else, right? And that's really the zone that we want to be in. That, I don't know how else to say it without sounding all weird. That's where the healing lies, right? So I'm going to leave it there because that went on for a little bit longer than I intended to. So I hope that that is something that you can relate to. I hope that's something that and if you've forgotten on some level, because that's just part of life. Sometimes we just get focused in on maybe the doing, but we forget to think about why we do the things that we do, why we are drawn to these things. And to not, don't negate the absolute healing power that comes with creating and allowing yourself to get into a zone. And part of that is, going into the project and not judging yourself and being like, I'm just going to create. And if it looks great, it looks great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'll try again later, and maybe I'll come up with something else that I like a little bit better. We can be very, very, very hard on ourselves, especially when it comes to being creative creatures, because we have this thing now called social media, and we tend to judge ourselves and our achievements based on what other people are posting and showing. That is a whole other conversation for another day that I'm not going to get into today, but I think it's just an important little tidbit to put out there that if you are creating and you're feeling a little bit stressed while you're creating because you feel like your creating isn't good enough, or it doesn't look like somebody else's creating or creation or whatever it is. Again, it doesn't have to be about journaling, but if you're in the midst of doing something and you realize that you're creating because you're feeling competitive, or you're judging yourself based on something else that you've seen, then take a step back and, remind yourself that the process is supposed to be about you, for you, to help bring you joy. You are the most important person in your creative process. Not somebody on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or any of those other things. You are the most important person at the desk, at the table, with your journal, with your paints, your pens, your glue stick, your papers, your stencils, all of that stuff. That's there to bring you joy and comfort. That's your time for you, and it's not meant to be compared to anybody else. And if you are feeling poorly about what you're doing because you're comparing yourself or your levels of expertise, I always say you don't know what you don't know. I know it sounds sort of simplistic and silly. If you knocked on my door and said, "Hey, Lisa, I need you to build me a rec room," I'm like, "Sorry, no can do, buckaroo." I don't know how to build a rec room. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know how to change a tire on a car. What else don't I know? Oh, there's a lot. I don't know how to do math in my head. We'll get to that later. That comes up in the flip through. I can't make baked Alaska, right? Like, there's a lot of things that you don't know. So don't be hard on yourself if you don't know how to do something in your journal that somebody else knows how to do, right? So you know, it's about coming back to center and coming back to a place where you can just say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to do this. You know what? Because I want to have some fun. I want to exhale. And I just want to do something that brings me joy. And if I want to show other people, great. If I don't want to show other people, then I'm not going to show other people. I'm just going to be really proud and happy with what I accomplished. Whether you gave yourself 5 minutes or 5 hours, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And then, you know, because life and reality and all of the things that get us wound up, they'll be waiting for us later. But the trick is, if you can come out of your journal time feeling a little more grounded and a little more centered and a little, you know, a little more at peace with yourself and your ability to handle stress and decision makings and all those sorts of things, I'm telling you that it comes close, but it's you know, I was going to say, I'm not sure that a jar of, or a container of ice cream can do that for you. At the time, it sort of feels like it can, but then you're like, oh, geez, I just ate a container of ice cream. So at least your journal isn't going to make you feel that way, right? Okay, so my lovely friends, you know, when I say at the end of the video, speak kindly to yourselves, you know, it is a reminder for myself as much as it is for you, because the self-talk, the chatter that goes on in our brains can be really, 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 really toxic and difficult. So when you are finding yourself, as I was last week, really starting to, you know, be a Tasmanian devil, really do watch the chatter. Speak kindly to yourselves. Give yourself that tiny little break, even for a minute, while you're freaking out. And you're like, just, it's okay. It's okay. I'm telling you, it's okay has saved me a million times. So it's okay. Speak kindly to yourself. And let's get on. I am really excited to show you these, even though they weren't created under duress. And I had to giggle to myself as I'm making these, because I am so bad with numbers. I cannot do math in my head. I could not do math in high school. You know, my accountant is regular, you know, shaking his head at me because my math is always wrong. So I don't know, maybe I was like an accountant or something in a former life, or I don't know. But anyways, I had a lot of fun, and the whole point of the video is to share that joy with you, hopefully inspire you. You'll see something here that maybe you want to incorporate in your own journal making process. So, okay. Turn the camera around, and I'll see you in a minute. Alrighty, my friends, here we go. Before I forget, I do want to mention again the details of what, number-wise, what is in here. 33 pages, which means 64 pages. 66 pages, oh my god. From here on and for infinity into YouTube, I cannot do math in my head, so please don't be surprised if I think that 33 and 33 is 64. It's kind of embarrassing, but I don't know, it is what it is. Okay, that means 66 pages, which means 132 front and back. It's terrible, isn't it? I don't know about the rest of you, but I've never been able to do math in my head. It's embarrassing. I try and fake it as much as I possibly can. But every once in a while, I'm like, what is 9 times 5? Right? Like, my brain doesn't work that way. Anyways, let's carry on. 72 of the bigger tags. Boy, my hands are closed, sorry. 72 of the bigger tags, 25 of the smaller, like little 1-inch tags, 1.5-inch tags. There's 8 loose pages that I'll show you as we go along. 1, 2, 3, 4 vintage ephemera flashcard type cards, 4 envelopes that I stamped, and there's 9 various vintage playing cards. So let's just get right into it, because I'm excited. So yeah, nice and chunky, as a good journal should be, in my opinion. I know some people don't like this gator mouth thing. Honestly, they kind of look a little sad. when you take everything out. Not to mention the fact that you get like 1 billion paper clips when you buy a journal from me. But yeah, I mean, like you guys know, I say this all the time. I put the stuff in here, but I don't glue it down. So, you know, I guess it's a little bit thicker than it would be because of all the paper clips but, you know, my philosophy is always usually the same, is that I want to give you as much flexibility with these journals as I can, because I believe that the journal process is so personal, right? So I think I glued in 2 things in these journals. Everything else is held in by paper clips, so that way you can put what you want, where you want, how you want it, when you want it. Because what I think will make an excellent pocket or a tuck spot or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to think the same thing, right? So right off at the very beginning, we have a giant tag. And as always, everything's printed on cardstock, and they're blank on the back. I was tempted to do a little printing on the back of these cards, I have to admit, but I stopped myself at the last minute because, again, I don't know what you're going to want to do with the backs, right? One of these days I'm going to make a journal where I contradict all of my rules, but for now, everything is still blank. So we've got some fun retro ledger. And I love ledger and graph paper as much as I love numbers. And then, yeah, so when I refer to small tags in this count, right, when I say 25 small tags, I basically sort of mean tags that you can't really write anything on. So they become maybe some sort of tab or whatever you want to do with them, right? So this would also be considered a small tag. I mean, you could write a little quote or something on the back. But, you know, to me, this is a tag, like a journal card, where this isn't. Then we've got, okay, so let's do this here. We've got this tip out here. So when I say vintage playing cards, we've got all kinds of different sizes. I was lucky enough to find a whole bunch of these at the Goodwill over the last couple years. I don't know what it is, but I get super jazzed when I see giant playing cards like this. They're so fun. It reminds me of being kids, and we would play with... My parents had a big set like this when we were little, and my brother and I would play cheat with them, and we would play all... Oh my God, we would have so much fun. And as a kid, right, like, it's super fun and super ridiculous because you have these giant playing cards. So this would be considered a regular size tag. This is a small tag. But again, you know, could be a tab, whatever you think would be fun. So here's one of the few times I actually glued down for a little tuck spot here for these 2 tags. So, you know, again, I was trying to think of things that had numbers. So there's a few clocks in here, as well as telephones. And what was the other thing? Did I put it up here? No, not yet. Okay. So then I left the envelopes empty because, I mean, you know, it was getting a bit ridiculous. I thought about putting stuff in the envelope, and then I was like, no, you've already got way too much bulk in here. And then on this side, again, another ticket, vintage train, bus ticket, and a tiny tag there. Now, the guest checks in here, you know, they don't really have a ton of numbers on them, but certainly numbers were intended to go on there, right? And I really like the looks of guest checks. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those things, right? I think it's the vintage aspect of these kind of guest checks that I like. Again, it kind of reminds me of being a kid, right? Okay, so just some cardstock with some printed numbers there. And then a tag. I feel like I'm going to be kind of stating the obvious over and over again. A tag, a tag, a tag with numbers. I love me some rubber stamps, and vintage rubber stamps are certainly no exception to the rule. So that goes there. And then when I talk about vintage ephemera flashcards, this is the kind of thing. So, you know, again, you could cut it and use the numbers individually, turn it, you know, glue it, turn it into a pocket or a tuck spot. And 4 numbers. You know. Of course, a bingo card is full of numbers. And then I've just got some, this is actually paper, not cardstock. And who doesn't love a vintage dial? Oh, I was just thinking about the dial phones that we went through. I remember being a kid, and we had one of the old-fashioned black dial phones, and I wanted nothing more than a push-button phone because all of my friends, their parents were getting the fancy push-button phone, and especially the push buttons that were in the receiver. My mother was not having it. She was like, "We do not need those fancy push-button phones." Oh my God. Oh, I was, you know, traumatized as a child because we only had rotary phone. Honestly, I don't think we had a push button phone in the house until I was well into high school. That's a whole conversation for another day, but yeah. All my friends were getting those like really sexy red phones and orange phones, and oh no, not at my house. We had a black, I think my mother got crazy the one year and we got a green dial phone, you know, and it's just crazy to me that now there's a generation of kids that don't even know how to use a dial phone. Okay, but I digress. Here we go. Round playing cards make me happy in ways I can't even fully describe. Guess check, and of course then on this side, an envelope here that I've just stamped with a rubber stamp. It's the small things in life that make you happy, right? Push button phones, round playing cards. Where's my thing here? Cuckoo clocks. Oh, I would have killed for a cuckoo clock as a kid. Another playing card. So the difference in these again, my favorite trick is to, you know, make the journals the same on the inside, but the covers a little bit different. What I did was in this journal, I believe some of these cards are black, like either spades or clubs, and these ones have hearts and diamonds in there. And here's another tiny tag here. And then this is another, this is like cardstock. I bought these giant desk calendars. Indigo, one of our national book, sort of like the Canadian version of Barnes and Nobles. They had these desk calendars on for really cheap a couple years ago. And I bought a ridiculous amount of these things because they were so inexpensive. So I had fun incorporating these large numbers in here. So that's just blank there. Here's a divider. Again, one of the few things that I actually glued in. A little tuck spot there. And then this is some ledger paper, which again is one of the small things in life that makes me really happy. And we've got the tag there. And then this, how fun is that? That's there. And then this is the bottom of a guest check. So sometimes when I sell my postcards on my website, instead of writing a thank you card, I write a thank you note on a guest check. I just think it's kind of retro and cool looking. But sometimes I save the bottom parts, and I added a bunch of these in these journals because I thought they would be really fun for gluing on the side of something and making, like, you know, again, just a decorative thing, a tab. Maybe you add it to a cluster if you're into making a lot of clusters and that sort of thing. I mean, basically anything that I could find with numbers went into this, right? Again, here we go. Tag, tiny 1-inch tag there for a tab. Again, another vintage flashcard, and another one at the bottom of the guest checks. Boy, sometimes my brain, you know. Sometimes I wonder if it's because I need more chocolate. I'm like, I wonder if my memory's poor because I could use a little more chocolate in my life. Wink, wink, right? And a typewriter, because typewriters have lots of numbers on them. So I thought that would be kind of fun. And it's vintage. And you guys know how I feel about vintage. So there we go again on some green ledger paper. And then on the other side here, we just have this tag. This was on the back of the giant desk calendars that I bought from Indigo. So I just cut them out. The calendar part out because I thought if you wanted to, you could cut the individual numbers out or, you know, use your imagination. I'm sure you'll come up with something really good to do with that. Okay, so then we just have some stuff that I've printed. This came out of an atlas, and of course I thought it was kind of fun because it had all the lines on it. And then of course the numbers. And then another tiny tag. And then here is an envelope. A tiny little vintage Hallmark envelope that I did the stamping on. And then the one day at Value Village, I came across these super interesting playing cards. Now, I've never seen anything like this. And, you know, hang on, I'm going to show you the thing that they came in. Hang on. So it looked like this. And at first, I wasn't sure if it was a, when I first saw the container, I was attracted to the size and the shape. And I thought it had something to do with travel. And then I realized, oh, it's Umbra, and they call it anti-playing cards. So I was like, ooh. So how cool is this, right? Again, I wish some of these things were dated. Like, I wish this is Umbra patent pending, but doesn't have a date on it. So yeah, I thought these were really, really interesting. And of course, I've been saving them and hoarding them forever for when I would do these kinds of journals. And then there's the bag. So I meant to actually Google it and look to see if you could find these online. They would be kind of fun to play. Like, I was imagining, you know, you could play crazy eights with them. They would be pretty easy to hold in your hand. Right? Anyhow, I wanted to look to see if that was something that was still available on their website. So I'll have to go back and check and see. Anyways, the beauty of Value Village and the Goodwill, because you never know what you're going to find, right? Tiny tag. Okay, there. Another layaway ticket. And this is on like a Korean math page. I found these at Value Village with all these equations and stuff on it. Like I said earlier, I could never do that kind of math to save my life. But I like to look at it. I like the numbers. I like the way it looks. And then on this side we have an old daytimer page. So the page in this one looks pretty darn similar. I picked it from the same month in the same colors. They just have different flowers on them, right? But they're both from September. And I just really like the contrast of the green with the blue. And then a clock there with the numbers and a tiny little tag. So then we've got here, and then some more ledger paper, library card because of all the dates on there. And then that is a 1.5 inch size tag circle. And another tag there. And this is on a cardstock divider. So then I have a few pages in here that I printed with numbers. And then here's another one of those fun playing cards. Layaway ticket. And then again where I printed the number 5. Oh, it looks like I added I got a little crazy there and put 2 tabs on the one page. I'm not sure what I was thinking there. And here's another one of the daytimer pages. And again, I like the contrast of the black and the greens with the red and the greens on this page here. Layaway ticket, another bus ticket here. And then we've got this ledger paper that just folded over. This is just, I'm not sure what possessed me, but it felt like it needed some polka dots, because in my opinion, it's not a journal without polka dots. So that goes in there. A ticket for some journaling. And then, how much fun is this? Like, does this not scream 1973 to you, or what? You know what this actually reminds me of is Sesame Street, I have to say. But anyways, a flinch card. I put 2 of those in. There's another one in here somewhere. Then we've got cardstock and a tiny tag. Oops. Some numbers on cardstock and a tiny tag. Hello, Woco. Oh my goodness. Again, memories of being a kid, and it was at Woco. So in Canada, I don't know if you guys had Woco in the States in the 70s and 80s. Woco was sort of another version of Woolworths. They eventually got all bought out by Walmart. But we used to go as kids. My mother would take us, and it would be for $1.44 days. And they would have these big sales, and all these things would just be on sale for $1.44. So Kmart used to be the blue light special, if I remember correctly, and they'd wheel the cart, right? And they like the police car light would go, and I don't know if they made a sound. But anyways, that was the sort of competition between Kmart and Woco. So Woco was $1.44 days, which I think regularly happened to be on a Monday. And I don't know why I remember that. But anyways. Tag. It's funny the things that, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I could talk to you for a good half an hour about the Woco $1.44 days and some of the things that we got there when I was a kid. Okay, so on this side here, we're finally at the middle, and this is from an atlas, and I just created these pockets here. So we've got, again, another one of these pages, because I think this is great for journaling, hidden journaling in there. And I can't get enough of this red ledger paper and its contrast with the blues and the greens. I really love that look. And then this is from a vintage Cath Kidston daytimer planner thing. And I just kind of, I couldn't resist adding a few little floral touches into a journal that's really not supposed to have flowers in it at all. But there you have it. So again, we have May, and then another flashcard that I printed. And we're getting to the home stretch here because there's not a whole lot on this side. That's there. There's more of our $1.44 days, but it's $1.88. And I remember being made to get very uncomfortable shoes on $1.44 days. I have to say, as a kid, I was always hopeful, but regularly kind of bummed out when we got home. Because the $1.44 items that I wanted were not usually what I was allowed to have. Okay, N. Tiny tag. Here's another one of those flashcards. And just some more red graph paper, because I have no self-control over graph paper. And this is more ledger paper. And another one of those tall flashcards, the vintage flashcards, and a tiny N. Again, a nice little tag here for list making or whatever. And another, library card. tiny tag, printed. We got lots of graph paper here. The other side of that, oops, that dictionary page. The one side I think had the 7 on it. This has a 3. Here's another vintage, larger vintage playing card. Tiny tag. I think this is the last of the envelopes that I used the stamp on. And then that just wrapped around with... So these tags are from my digital tag collection. I will add that at the end of the video. These digitals are on my website and on my Etsy shop. In my Etsy shop. I always get this wrong. On my website, in my Etsy shop. I like these cards because they have this very interesting texture on them. And again, I thought the red color looked kind of nice against all the different colors here and really helped to pull out the red text in some of the tags there. Okay, one of the flashcards again, vintage flashcards. This is just some ledger paper. This is not cardstock, but this is paper that I printed. And what's this? Oh, more numbers. This is another one of those flinch cards that make me giggle. I still remember songs and things that I learned when I was a kid on Sesame Street. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I know we sort of all do, but it just goes to show like how much of an impact some of those shows really had on us when we were tiny little human beings. Okay, so there's the ledger paper there, the divider. We're coming up to the end. Like I said, I didn't put a lot of stuff in the back because I was trying to sort of concentrate a lot of the bulk. And this is, where's the, where did we have the front of the, oh yeah, there we are, the crossword here. And again, this is from the atlas, and then a little tuck spot there. I tried to keep some of this heavier cardstock to the back, or consequently to the front, to try and give just a little bit more stability when you're sort of writing, you know, near the back of it. So, there you have it. That is the flip through of the numbers journal. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure what to call these, because I think if you're looking up a journal, number journal isn't going to be what comes to mind. So I'm going to have to get a little creative about what I call these when I list them. But there's the other one, and then the back again. So I will very quickly get out the digitals of these number cards, these number tags, these collage number tags, I should say. Where did follow the strings? Yeah, like these. And I'll just very quickly show you. And then, yeah, that's it. We will call it a day. So I'll be right back. So I have 3 different sets of number tags that I did. Oh, sorry, my printer is talking to itself. Sorry if you can hear it. I have 3 different files, and this was the one that I used. I put these tags in the journal because they were sort of the brighter ones in color, but I also have this, which is sort of more muted tones with pinks and greens, and then this one is again sort of muted, but it has more blacks, you know, the bigger bold black graphics in it. So again, these are available both on my website and in my Etsy shop. If you have any questions about the digitals, please don't hesitate to ask, because I know that not everybody knows exactly, you know, the ins and outs of digitals. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. Just put them in the description box down below. So that's it, everybody. Thanks again, you know, for coming by, and you know how much I appreciate you coming and spending and sharing your time with me, because time is one of our greatest commodities. So I really appreciate you being here. Again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please give it a little thumbs up, because it really does help me in the algorithm and all that kind of YouTube stuff. So have a great rest of your week. Speak kindly to yourselves and enjoy your journal process. Until the next video, take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye.